Hello everybody and welcome back to the Mr. Matthew Does Coding YouTube channel. Today we are going to be discussing everything that you need to know about GUIs part 2. So if you haven't seen part 1, which is where I covered all of the visual stuff about what all the different properties of things like screen GUIs, frames, text buttons, all that kind of stuff does, I will leave that video linked up here in the corner of the screen. But this video is going to expand on everything that we learned in the previous one, and we're going to dive in to the coding aspect of it all. So, let's get started. In our screen GUI here, I'm going to get a text button up here real quick. And so we have our button. I'm just going to label it to be like get money. Get money. So now we have our get money button, right? And we can customize it a little bit. Alright, so we got our little button here in the corner now. And how are we going to detect when our player clicks on it? That's what our goal is. So let's hit the little plus here. And let's insert a local script. Local scripts, if you look here on the little hint that it shows, it says a script that runs on clients, not servers. Local scripts can only run when parented under one of the following. And then it shows this little list, and inside of here is GUIs. So all GUI related things, or at least the buttons on the screen here, those ones are all handled in local scripts on the client side. So let's do this real quick. Let's type local, and let's tell the game what our text button is. So money button equals script.parent, and then let's type money button dot mouse button one click. This tells us that we've hit the button with our left mouse click. That's what the 1 stands for, and a 2 would tell it that it's a right click and not a left click. Colon connect function parentheses. There we go. So we have this so that when our button is clicked, it will load this function here. Yippee! Now we want to tell the game how much money we have, and then we're going to add a certain amount to our balance, I guess, and then we'll tell it what the balance is after we've added onto it. So I'm going to create another variable up here. Money equals 0. So our money count will be 0 to start with. Poor, no money, sad. So what we're going to do is we'll print the amount of money we have to start with. All right. Current money. There we go. Or I can do it like this. That'd probably work better. Current money, and then it'll print money right after that. So then we're going to tell it how much we want to add. So let's just say we want to add a random amount. So we'll add in anywhere between $2 and $10. So let's do that. Local amount equals math.random 2, 10. If I haven't ever explained what this means, math.random will get a random number, a random whole number between the two numbers that are specified here. So this being the minimum amount and this being the maximum amount. So it could pull out a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, or 10. So it'll roll a random number every single time that we load this function. and then we'll print the amount, adding, comma, amount, comma, to player's account balance. So you have that. And now let's actually add the amount. So we'll do money plus equals amount. So we're adding the amount to the money. Money plus amount equals new amount. And then we're going to print how much we have afterwards. After transaction, the player's new balance is, comma, money. So then we'll just get a new value out of this. So let's hit play, and we'll test out our script and see how well it works. So let's click. First, let me show you. Current money is 0. We're broke. Sad. But we have this button here. Then we click it. Then it'll say adding $3 to player's account balance. After transaction, the player's new balance is 3. Because 0 plus 3 is 3. And then we can keep doing this over and over and over again. And the money will keep racking up. And now we're at 124. And you can see if I zoom out, it printed it every single time we clicked the button, and it gave us a different amount every single time. 3, 9, 3, 8, 3, 6, 8, 3, 5. All that good stuff. Yippee! And this can also be applied to an image button as well, because they're all buttons. They all work the same. There's nothing different except one has text on it and one displays a JPEG or a PNG. Alright, so we're going to be expanding a little bit here, right? And what we're going to be doing is we're going to make this a bit more entertaining and not just clicking and clicking and clicking so that we just rack up money. We're going to make the player work for it a little bit, and every single time we click on this button, it's going to move the button to a random position on the screen so that the player has to keep up with it and move its mouse around and be on alert for when it moves and where its position is, and try and do it as fast as they possibly can. So, every single time we run this, we're doing this whole transaction thing. And now we're going to be adding onto that, and we're going to be changing its position every single time we click it by a random amount. So let's do money button dot position, and you can see here, if you notice, it doesn't say vector 3 like what we've been working with parts in previous videos. This says UDIM2. That's just the way that GUIs are structured in how they are positioned on the screen. And I'll explain that right now. So we do position equals UDIM2 dot new parentheses. So it's structured like we'd write vector 3s, except instead of writing, vector 3 dot new, we write UDIM2 dot new. And inside of here is where we're going to put all our information. So if I go back over to our button here, let's go over to its properties. We have its position, okay? And we can see that currently when I move it around on the screen, you can see that the second number changes when I do this. The first number has something to do with scale, and it usually just ends up breaking it. Editor me here. The first and third numbers aren't actually part of scaling. They're part of positioning as well, but it's just a lot easier to look at the second and fourth numbers to determine the position, just so it's more simplified for things. So that was my bad. Alright, now back to the video. Like that. Or like 0.0001. It just changed it to 0.1. 0.2. It's kind of weird, but the main numbers we want to focus on are going to be these numbers right here, which is the second number in each of these curly brackets, because that's what determines the position here. So if we set this back over here, we're going to be basically getting a random value that fits within the bounding boxes of our screen. And actually, it might be a really good idea to put this in device testing mode and change it to something like, I don't know. I usually use average laptop because that's what I do everything on, but you can do it for whatever you want. And so we have these positions. This is 0, 0. Actually, 0, 0 would be here in this corner, and then as you go this way, values increase and all that. So we're going to change the second number, like I said. So we type 0 first, and then comma, math.random, like we did up here for our number. And we're going to give it a value between 0 and 1,000. And then we'll type another 0. So 0, and then our random number, 0, and then our random number. 0, comma, math.random. 0, comma, 500. Because we have less space this way than we do this way. So that should be all that we need to do to change its position randomly. So if we hit play, we'll see that after we click the button, it moves. Yippee! It's in a different position. And every single time we click on it, it ends up in a different position. And you just gotta try and keep up with it and get as much as you possibly can. And now we can even take this a little bit of a step further and not just make it an infinite loop, but we can add a little bit of an end to it. This isn't so much, I mean, I guess it does give you a little bit more GUI insight, but it's more just for the fun of it. So I'm going to create another variable up here. We're going to make it so that our button only gets to be clicked a certain amount of times. So it's moving around the screen and you have to click it like 20 times. Let's just go with 20 times, and then it disappears. And it says something like, congratulations, you've completed this, and then it stops. So let's do that. Let's make a variable for the amount of times left. Times left equals 20. So what we're gonna do is when we reach when we click it, we're going to check to see if times left is less than or equal to 0. And if it is, then what's going to end up happening is we're going to make our button disappear. So money button dot visible equals false. So it just goes bye-bye, invisible. It doesn't exist anymore. But if not, then we'll run this code. So let me just put it in here. And there we go. Should be simple as that, but we haven't actually told it to count down the times left. So times minus equals 1. Times left minus equals 1. My bad. And we would probably want to display that as well, so that the player knows how many times they have left on their clicks. So I'm going to change the text, since we're starting at 20. I'm going to put in parentheses 20. And then as we continue, it will start to decrease that number until it reaches 0, and then it disappears. So every single time we click on this, we're going to update the text. So we'll do money button dot text equals get money exclamation mark, and then we'll do comma, and then we'll do a dot dot. That'd be better. And then parentheses dot dot times left dot dot quotations close parentheses. And so that should be all we need to do. So let's hit play. And then when we click on this, 19. So we need to move this actually down here. So after we decrease the value, then it starts updating. Not at the top, because then it does 20 twice. So 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, 0, and it's gone. So it got to 0. I don't think we want that. So I'm going to get rid of that equals so that 0 is not displayed. So let me test that again, and it should stop after I click on it when it says 1 instead of 0. 2, 1, boom. -1. Okay, that's fun. Let's put that equals back and set it to 1. See if that works. This will come up a lot when you're testing games, and you'll just have to play test things, see how they work out, and then you're going to have to go back and probably modify some things until you get it right. And just like that, we got it right on the, what was it, 3rd try? That's pretty good, all things considered. Most of the projects I work on, I got to do it like 50 times in order to get it right after like 6 hours and 5 migraines. But that's just a little kind of game that we've set up, and now I'm going to expand even more on this, and I'm going to be talking about a special little thing called tween service. So essentially, tween service is a way of animating our little buttons and stuff like that. So what we need to do in order to do that is we're going to use the tween service. So let's do that real quick. Let's make a variable up here for our tween service. I'll put it up here at the top. Local tween service equals game:get service tween service. So we're just telling the game to access a certain service, and in this case we're accessing the tween service, which is what controls all of this animation of the GUIs and stuff like that. So now let's go down here, and we need to write some things down. I actually ended up getting rid of the position somehow. Hold on, let me get that back. Okay. So we have our code as is, and what we need to do is we only need to actually add 1 line of code, but it takes a bit of explaining to do so. So let's do money button :tween position. So we're going to tween is just, animating, and we're going to tween it to a certain position that we tell it to. We're going to tween it to the position, which is this variable right here. So that random value, it's going to move it to that value from its current position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to follow what it says right here. It's a lot to unpack with this, but I'll go through it step by step. So we've got its end position, which is the UDIM2 value, which is what we have right here. And then afterwards, it says to pick an easing direction using enum.easing direction. So we type comma, then we type enum.easing direction dot, and then gives us options for the different directions. So I'm going to go with in. It says the easing style is applied in a forward direction. So in. And then it wants us to give it an easing style. This is where things get kind of cool and customizable. So easing style, not style, style. Dot, and then we have all this really cool stuff to unpack. So there's descriptions for all of these, and you can mess around with them if you want. And some of these are mathematical kind of stuff, like sine waves, cubic functions, quadratic functions, exponential functions. They follow a direction path based on those kind of things. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with, let's see here. Let's try quad. So we have our style now, and then afterwards it's telling us right here. It wants a time telling us how many seconds is it gonna take for our image to get from point A to point B on the screen. I'm going to set it to 0.1 seconds because I want it to still be able to be seen that it's moving, but I don't want it to move too slow to the point where the player is just sitting there waiting forever for the button to get to where it needs to get to. And then, finally, we type false. The false just tells it if it wants to override. Override whether the tween will override an in progression tween. That just means, like, if there's already a tween going on where our button is moving all the way, like, over here, and then this one comes in and tells it to move over here, the false just means that it won't interrupt it. I don't know whether it'll wait until it gets to where it needs to be and then do it, or if it just cancels it entirely. But if we set it to true, then that would mean that if we're in the middle of moving and then we have this tween happen, then it'll just cut off the original tween, cancel it, and have it go in the direction that this one is telling it to. So we can set that to false, or we can set it to true. I'm going to leave it at false since there's only one tween, which is this one that we have. So there's not really any point in doing true or false or worrying about that. And that's basically everything we need to do that. And so now if we hop in game and we click, you can see it moves. And it doesn't just spawn in another location. It smoothly moves over to its position that it's supposed to be in. Yippee! Which is pretty cool. Now, let's take this a step further and make it a bit more fun. What if we had it so that as our game of clicking and trying to keep up with the amount continued, that we had the speed in which it goes at go faster to kind of build up the adrenaline in our player. So I'm going to set this to a little bit of a higher amount, like 30. And then we can change, I'm going to change our default to be 30 instead of 20. And then what we're going to do is this number right here is going to slowly increase as time goes on. So let's make a variable for it. Local speed equals, we'll start it at 1 second, so it'll take a whole 1 second for it to get to where it needs to get to, and then as things go on, it'll get faster and faster and faster. So let's replace this 0.1 here with speed. And then after we're done tweening, we're going to decrease speed so it takes less seconds. So speed minus equals 0.02. That should do it. So now, we'll notice that as time goes on, it'll get faster. So it's slow right now, but it's starting to get faster and faster as it keeps going along the screen. We can kind of even like follow it and just click on it as it goes, which is kind of an issue. But we'll tackle that in a little bit. You might want to even increase this just a little bit so it goes by, so it starts speeding up quicker. So slow, slow, and you can see it's starting to get a little faster, and faster, and faster, and faster, and faster, and faster. It's getting hard to keep up with. Now it's just instant. It's gotten to 0 seconds and it's just going so fast. You don't even see the tween happen. It's just instant. Alright, so now we have that fun little implementation right there. And let's make this a bit more fun. Let's make it kind of visually appealing. When we reach a certain point in our little clicking game, I'm going to increase this to 50 now. Every single time we pass a 10 mark, we're going to change its color. So, when we click on this, we're going to check to... Actually, I think it might be good to check it at the bottom. If times left equals... Or actually... Yeah, if it equals 10, and let's make a variable, let's make a couple variables, let's make just one variable, local level. We'll set that to 1. If times left is less than or equal to 40, and level equals 1, then we'll change its color. So essentially what I just did is I made it check to see whether it ended up reaching 40 or below, and also to check to see if it's still on level 1. If it is, then we'll add 1 to level so that we end up at level 2. And then we'll change the color of the background on our little thing. So currently we have it set to, let's see. We have it set to this RGB value right here, 2024938. But let's change it here. So money button dot background color 3, which is the name of the property here, equals color 3 dot new. Then if we click out of the parentheses and then we click back, we get the little color wheel, and then we can change it. So level 2, I'm gonna make level 2 a light blue. So now we have that little value, and we'll see that if we hop into game, once we get to 40, actually I set it's still set to 30 at the default. No, I don't want that. No. Okay. Sorry. I'm screwing everything up today. So, we play the game for a little bit. I'm just going to click kind of quickly. And then there, it got to 40. And now it's blue. And actually, the border is still red. We might not want that. So I'm going to change the border color as well. Money button dot UI stroke, which is this, dot color, equals color3 dot new. Let's click out of the parentheses, click back, get this, and let's just take the same kind of color and darken it. So now it'll be a dark blue outline, and I'll set this to 41 so it only takes one click to show you and test it. There we go. So dark blue outline, pretty cool. Let me set that back to 50, and now I'm just going to apply this sort of thing to all 5 levels since we have 50 and each level happens at 10. I'm just going to kind of repeat this same thing over and over and over again until we end up with all 5 levels. So let me do that real quick. Alright, so I got this whole thing set up now, and it ended up being 1, 2, 3, 4 of these. So check to see if it's under 40 and it's at level 1. If it is, it'll start level 2, and then this one will start level 3, 4, and 5. So all I did was I just changed the color that it sets to, so it just looks more visually appealing. So let me show you this real quick. We start at 49, 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, 43, 42, 41, 40. Then we get to blue. 39, 38, 37, 36, 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30. Now we're at green. 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 21, 20. Purple. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yay, the game's complete, and everything's all nice and happy. Yippee! Let's add a cool little thing at the end. I think it'd be kind of cool if the game told you that you completed everything. So I'm gonna just make a little screen. I'm gonna get rid of the little local script in here. So this will be our little congratulations screen. Let's set the property visible to be false so that you can't see it, and we'll only activate it when you actually do complete the game, and so it tells you congratulations, you're done. So we have our little thing up here at the top where we said money.visible equals false. Well, let me actually make that invisible again. We have this, but now let's set the other button to be actually visible, not visible. And these should probably be labeled now so that we have more. Money button and win screen. So let's make I'm gonna make another variable. Local win screen equals money button dot parent, which is screen GUI dot win screen. So now we're going to just set win screen dot visible equals true, and we'll just have it flash the win screen for a couple seconds, and then we'll have it disappear. So win screen dot visible equals true, and then let's just have it wait like 2 seconds, and then it'll set it to false again, and the game is over. So hit play, and now let's play the game all over again. We'll speedrun this. Boom, congrats, you win. And then we wait 2 seconds, and it's gone. Boom, there we go. And now we kind of have a functioning game with just a little button, which is kind of cool. And now let's add a little gameplay loop now. So in the corner, I'm going to add a little retry button to here, so that when you're done with the game and it says congratulations, you win, it'll ask you if you want to retry. So I'm gonna take this win screen. I'm gonna set it to visible so that I can see it, so I know what I'm doing, and make it just like a little square. Put it in the corner, and change the text to be replay or retry. There we go. So I got a little retry button now, and this should be retry button, and then set it to be invisible again. And after we get rid of the congratulations, you win screen, we'll set the retry button to be true, so that then we can see it, and then we click on the button so that we can retry. So let me make another variable for this. Retry button equals money button dot parent dot retry button. So money button parent retry button. And then we can set retry button dot visible equals true. Now our retry button isn't going to do anything because we haven't coded it to do something. So all I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding a local script, and we're going to be resetting our money button. So we're going to be borrowing a little bit of our scripts here, but not much. We might actually be able to do something where we have another money button, but we put it in a folder. Put this one in a folder, actually put it in the same position, and then put it in a folder, so that, and then we can call this the backup. So we have our money button here, that's our backup, and we set it to invisible, so that when we hit the retry button, it'll just generate this one. It'll basically clone this and take it and make it uninvisible and put it into the screen GUI here, so that we can use it. And it might actually be better if we put it outside of the screen GUI, so it's not cluttering things. And actually, also, since we're creating a clone and putting a new one in, we don't want to have our player retry the game many times and then just have a ton of buttons that clutter the screen, or clutter the workspace, that are just not being used. They're invisible. So what we're going to do is we're going to change a little thing here and instead of setting money button to be invisible, we're going to destroy it. So we're destroying the original, and then when you retry, it'll just clone an exact copy of it, and it'll do something with it. So let's make a variable for the backup folder. Backup folder equals script.parent, which is screen GUI, and then .parent, which is starter GUI, and then inside of starter GUI we have backup. Where did that go? Oh no, script.parent is the retry button. That's my bad. So script is this .parent 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 .backup. Right? .parent .backup. Okay, so that's how you should write it. I got too many parents. It's screwing me up. Too many parents in that folder, or that variable. So we have our backup folder, and now what we're gonna do is we'll say script.parent.mouse button one click :connect function. Actually, let's make a variable for our button. Retry button equals script.parent. So then we can replace script.parent here with retry button. Retry button equal, yeah. Retry button dot visible equals false, because we don't want to see it anymore since the game's already started. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make another variable, local clone equals backup folder dot money button clone. So we're taking the button that's inside of this backup folder and we're cloning it, and then we're going to do things with it, such as parenting it to screen GUI. Clone.parent equals retry button dot parent. So the retry button here, its parent is screen GUI, so it'll just put it in screen GUI. So there we go. And that should be it. We don't have to set this one to be invisible because it's not inside of a screen GUI, so it won't display in the first place. It just kind of exists in the computer, but it's not visually there. So let me set our retry button to be invisible, and now let's hit play here. And now we should have a little retry system going. Or not. We have a little issue. Let's see. So I have the gaming X. Players. Player GUI. Backup. Screen GUI. So our backup folder is throwing out an error. And also telling us that our windscreen is not right. Oh! I'm stupid. There was we left our local script active inside of here. And so it was throwing out error messages for this when it wasn't supposed to do that. There actually was a legitimate error right here in the backup, but with this one on the windscreen, it was throwing out an error through this one. So let me change that in here real quick. And what we need to do is we need to disable this script. You can do that in its properties by unselecting enabled. And then what we need to do is we need to add another thing to our retry button to tell it to enable that. So clone find first child local script dot enabled equals true. So we'll just re-enable the script for when it's ready. So now our game should work properly. Alright, so I finished the game, and then we hit retry, and then the button reappears. And look at that, now we can just replay the game all over again, and just keep having a continuous game loop for the game, and then, yeah, just keep the player entertained and on their toes about having such a fast moving button. Congrats, you win, yay. Retry? Sure, I'll keep going. And we just basically created a functional game. I mean, we kind of deviated from the whole get money thing, but we created something that's fun for our player to work with. And you can expand on these concepts that I've talked to you about having the UDIM2 positions, the tweening positions, all the different, like, easing styles and the directions that I talked about, and the properties that you can modify in these, like text and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get to things like image labels and image buttons, but you can change the image properties of those by just telling it the Roblox asset IDs of those things, and change images if you really want to. And you can also change things like sizes, of these squares so that it's really customizable. And actually, before we end this video, I'm going to do something real quick, which I think is really smart to do for all your GUI projects, is to smart scale them with the plugin that I mentioned in the last video. There's a free version of the plugin, but this one is the premium version. So that's all cool. But once it's done doing all of this stuff, then we'll have buttons that will be able to scale to devices properly, on anything really, like an iPhone 4, iPhone 6, iPads. Yeah, basically all that. And that's gonna do it for this video. So I know it was really, really, really long video, but it was so much to unpack with this whole big script. Actually, multiple scripts that we talked about here. And we just talked about so many new concepts that it deserved this long of a video to explain it all. But I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will most likely be making my next video on the results from the poll, which was in second place. That is the terrain editor video in the poll. So I'll most likely be making that, and then after that, I might continue with the Roblox how-to series. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.